Ladies and gentlemen, today is a federal holiday for Dr. Martin Luther King. You know, one thing we are taught are a bunch of lies when it comes down to history here in America. Now, they always try to make it seem like they just love Dr. King. They just love Dr. King. And then they really believe they can guilt trip us when we're doing something they don't like and they just bring up Dr. King. They're taught to do that. That's why you see so many of them doing it. But people that have subjugated, oppressed, and have a system of racism cannot guilt trip me into anything. Let me just put that out there. And ladies and gentlemen, these folks believe in taking down their history. Now, just remember when they take down that history, they're also taking down the real history of Dr. King. And they're also trying to give you a narrative that he just was about nonviolence and he had a dream. That's not all the way true either. But it's just like what Malcolm X say, you can't trust your enemies to educate you. You really can't. And I think if you don't see that by now, you don't want to see it. If you don't see all the troubles and everything that our children encounter in these schools, you don't want to see it. You don't want to see it. You have an agenda, and your agenda is to push those kids in the school regardless to what's happening. You just got to keep going. And that's fine if you want that for your child. But one thing I can vaguely remember is, see, I don't remember everything about Dr. King because I was just way too young at that time. But I do vaguely remembering everybody on the street was home. Nobody went to work, nobody went to school. I wasn't even in school. And I remember it was on TV all day about talking about the assassination of Dr. King. Now, you also have to you also have to factor in people now that are claiming they love Dr. King are the same ones that assassinated him. And don't be fooled by their referencing Dr. King. When Dr. King was alive, these folks hated him. They despised him. And you can see this in his march of how they came out to counter protest Dr. King. You don't see no love in that crowd. You don't see none. They were throwing bottles, rocks, bricks, all kinds of things at them. They never said anything decent about this man. But now that he's dead and we're decades later from his assassination, they want to psychologically make you believe they just love this man. They're lying to you. They're lying. It's too much footage proving their vitriol for Dr. King, for them to even keep up this laughable, I love Dr. King stuff. They're lying. They never liked Dr. King. In fact, I remember hearing the adults talking about how the white community broke out in celebration when they found out Dr. King was assassinated. So don't let them fool you with their references on Dr. King because they're being just as disingenuous as they are running around here from school to school and going to school board meetings shouting everybody down because they want their history eliminated. So just remember, if they want to eliminate their history, then part of that history would be eliminating Dr. King. Okay. And then you had a state like Arizona that held out to the end to even make it a federal holiday. They didn't even want to do it. And this is not a location in the South at all. Dr. King came up to Chicago and he said he was met with more hatred and violence and racism in Chicago from the white people up there than he did in the South. You know, when I was going to school, that is one thing these Karen teachers used to try to do when they get in front of the class. I never liked any of them. I can't tell you which one I liked because I didn't like them. Karen would get up in class and teach us that all of this was just in the South. It wasn't all over the country, just the South. And then you have to realize what Malcolm X told us was actually correct. The whole anything south of Canada is the South. And he was absolutely right. And then later on, as I was growing and learning, I found out there was slave in, cemetery here in New Jersey, slave cemeteries up in New York, slave cemeteries in places that they claimed there was no slavery. Pennsylvania, places where they claim, oh no, it was just in the South. And I realize, I understand, if you had a history that looked like theirs, I understand why they would be attempting to change it, but attempting to change it 500 years later is kind of laughable. But hey, you do you. But Dr. King, ladies and gentlemen, he was killed because towards the end, he definitely changed. That's why he was hooking up with the Nation of Islam because, you know, in the face of evil, nonviolence doesn't work. And I think he realized that. That's why he changed his position towards the end of his life. And he had demands for us being compensated and reparations and the things that we're talking about today. If you look at his footage, he was talking about it back then. And it just goes to show you, some things, yes, we have moved forward, but there are other things where we literally have been standing still, you know, and of course, the same ones that hated Dr. King are the same ones that don't want you to have reparations, or the same ones that are weaponizing the police against the Black community. And we're the same ones that Karen got lynched, but now she tries to get you lynched by the police department. She want you gone, but she don't want her hands involved, you know? So I think Dr. King, in my opinion, would not be satisfied where we are today. I don't think he would be satisfied at all. And all of these people referencing him, you don't need to reference Dr. King to weaponize against us. You can't do that anyway. There's no way with your kind of history you can guilt trip us into anything. Sorry. You're wasting your time with that. Why don't you use what your Confederate soldiers say? Y'all probably say some of the same things now anyway. So, y'all, you know, Dr. King did show us that when we come together, it scares the hell out of them. That's one thing he did do effectively. He was such a threat, they had to assassinate him. He was that big of a threat. And then the last time it got scary was George Floyd. Trump wanted to get the military out on the streets to go after the protesters. See, when we come together, it's scary to them. If you remember, he tried everything he could to dismantle everything because it was getting too scary. All them angry people out in the streets, just like the civil rights, man, no, they don't want to see that. But that's one thing he did show us. We can be a force when we come together. So, y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. I remember sitting around people and they would say, I'd rather work. I don't want this day off. That's nothing but a racist talking to you, y'all. Anybody that would prefer to work over a holiday, but they're not telling you that when it's President's Day or Independence Day or Memorial Day, they're not forming their lips to tell you they'd rather work, don't they? But on this one holiday that is for a black man, they'd rather work. That's nothing but a racist talking to you. You know, that's nothing but a racist. But y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.